I'm standing at the top of Westgate in Wakefield, outside of the NatWest Bank. For many years at the end of the 19th century, what is now the bank was a chemist's shop. In this photograph, you can see that the owner at the time was Chaplin and Son. But before the Chaplins took over this shop, it was owned by Thomas Gissing. And Gissing played a prominent part in the life of Wakefield while he was the proprietor of his chemist shop between 1856 and his death in 1870. Thomas Gissing was a poet. He published 2 volumes of poetry. He was also a botanist, and he published 2 books about the flora of Wakefield and the Wakefield area. He was also a very keen member of the Mechanics' Institute in Wood Street, and for many years was its librarian. In politics, he was a Liberal and represented the St John's ward on the Wakefield Town Council. Gissing was therefore an important man in the town, but Thomas Gissing tends to be forgotten today because he was overshadowed by his more famous son, George, his eldest son, who became a leading novelist at the end of the 19th century. I'm now entering what was the master bedroom in the Gissing's house in Thompson's Yard. Today, the room is cared for by the Gissing Trust, a trust which celebrates the work of George Gissing. The room is furnished with Gissing memorabilia, including a portrait of George Gissing himself, a portrait of his father, Thomas Gissing, and of his mother, Margaret Gissing. The Gissing household was a busy one because apart from Mr. and Mrs. Gissing and George, their eldest son, there were 4 other children in the household. George was educated not far from his home in Thompson's Yard by, first of all, a primary school teacher and then his secondary school teacher, Mr. Harrison, and both schools were housed in the Orangery in Back Lane. He was, by all accounts, a very good student. In 1870, Thomas Gissing died, and the family was then left in straitened circumstances. The chemist's business had to be sold, and Mrs. Gissing and most of her children moved out of the house and over later years lived at different addresses in Wakefield. George, however, was sent away to boarding school and later attended Owens College, Manchester. George's 2 single sisters remained in Wakefield and established a school. George Gissing's promising career at Owens College in Manchester was cut short when he was expelled from the university and jailed for stealing from his fellow students. On his release from prison, he went to the United States, where he supported himself by teaching and writing. His spell in the United States was very brief, and he soon returned, not to Wakefield, but to London, where he tried to establish himself as a writer. For some time, he lived in great poverty, but eventually he became a successful writer. The Gissing Trust owns a large collection of books by and about Gissing. He was a very prolific author, writing more than 20 novels, a profile of his hero, Charles Dickens, and also a travel book about his journeys in southern Italy. Many of these works have been translated into foreign languages, including French, Japanese, Italian, and German. In his novels, George Gissing mined his own experience. His most famous novel today is New Grub Street, a novel about struggling writers living in poverty in late Victorian London. A book perhaps of more relevance to Wakefield's people was his book A Life's Mourning, which is actually set in the town of Dunfield, but Dunfield is a thinly disguised Wakefield. Gissing's career does at times read like one of his novels. He married 2 times. On the first occasion, Nell Harrison, a marriage that proved to be disastrous. He then married Edith Underwood, a marriage that again proved to be disastrous. Eventually, he found some happiness with a French translator, Gabrielle Fleury. He actually married her bigamously in Rouen Cathedral. Later, the couple lived in Paris and then moved to the southwest of France for Gissing's health. The move, however, did not save Gissing from an early death. He died in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port in 1903. He was only in his 40s.